It is a truth universally acknowledged that when an admiral shows up in an episode of Star Trek, that admiral is probably evil, crazy, or both. When more than one admiral shows up, red alert. Ooh. There are exceptions, of course. Admiral Ross on DS9 proved to be a good man, with one little exception that we'll overlook. And on Discovery, Admiral Cornwell proved to be more than worthy of the rank. And there are others. Still, for every Ross, there's a Cartwright, and for every Cornwell, there's a Pressman. The Admirals really go for broke in the Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1 episode, Conspiracy. There's more than one here, so watch your caboose, dicks. Welcome back to SYFY WIRE's Warp Factor Classic Blend. Engage! Prepare for a mission briefing! This episode first aired in 1988, but if the eugenics wars in the 90s prevented you from seeing it, it's new to you. All crew to spoiler stations, but because 1988, yellow alert! Jean-Luc Picard is called to a secret meeting with some other captains, and Riker has no idea what's going on. After confirming Picard's identity using questions about his past, Captain Walker Keel and two others tell Picard that there is a conspiracy going on at Starfleet Command. People are changing. They don't know why or how, and long-term memory loss signals the change. Picard investigates, but soon enough, he discovers that Walker Keel's ship, the Horatio, has been destroyed. Picard tells Riker what's up, and they both remember warnings from Rear Admiral Quinn that came a couple episodes prior to this one. Data has uncovered some disturbing intel as well, so the Enterprise heads to Earth. Upon arrival, count 'em up, three admirals ask Picard why he's there before inviting him to dinner. Rear Admiral Quinn asks to see the Enterprise again, and he's got some kind of scorpion creature in tow. A briefcase with a scorpion creature. Picard knows something's wrong with Quinn, so he tells Riker to figure it out while he goes to the Admiral dinner. Quinn shows Riker his creature, which he calls a superior form of life.
Superior?
He wants it to join with Riker, but Riker refuses. The surprisingly strong Quinn knocks Riker out and then takes on LaForge and Worf. Dr. Crusher eventually takes Quinn down with a phaser and discovers a gross little tentacle thing sticking out the back of his neck. Little thing, yeah. On Earth, Picard is told repeatedly by the admirals and the returning Dexter Remick, there's no conspiracy, nothing to see here, no problem, look over there. But a communication with Crusher lets him in on what's happening. The dinner begins, and everyone eats bowls full of worms. It's not goth, it's gross. Everyone has been infected, and even worse, there's nothing here for Picard to eat.
Oh, do eat up, Picard.
Riker arrives, seemingly infected as well, with a tentacle on the back of his neck. The admirals reveal the conspiracy that literally everyone already knows about by this point, saying that now they're going to take the Enterprise D. Riker goes in for some worms, but pulls a phaser instead. Surprise! The tentacle on the back of his neck is a fake!
It's a fake!
He shoots up the place, and Picard grabs a phaser and joins in. A parasite crawls out of an admiral that Picard shoots. They follow it to another room where Remick is sitting comfortably in a nice chair. The parasite crawls into Remick's mouth and says that it means them no harm.
We mean you no harm.
Yeah, right. No harm. No harm my behind. Picard and Riker don't buy it, so they open fire. They shoot Remick so hard that his head explodes. Then they vaporize the parasite. Back on the Enterprise, Admiral Quinn will recover completely now that the mother creature is dead. Data points out that Remick was transmitting a homing beacon at the time of his death, though. As the Enterprise sails off, we hear the beeping of the beacon and are left wondering if more parasites are on their way.
Sukat! His eyes uncovered!
Does conspiracy have plenty of secrets and references and tentacles residing within? Did Quark watch Star Trek First Contact?
The line has to be drawn here. This far and no further.
A big yes to both questions. The events of this episode follow up on a storyline that was introduced earlier in TNG's first season, in the episode Coming of Age. That episode made mention of a plot going on that was meant to undermine the Prime Directive. Both Quinn and Remick are in there, though neither seems to be infected just yet. Nobody checked the next, though. Originally, there were no parasites in this episode at all. It was to be a full-on classic military coup. Gene Roddenberry hated that idea and could not accept the idea that the Federation was imperfect. The parasites then became a necessary plot point. Roddenberry hated this little conspiracy. Well, he'd probably really hate Section 31. Putting that group aside, the Federation has proved to be prone to conspiracies time and time again, from Star Trek VI to Star Trek Picard and all the way back again. The violence in this episode was another point of contention, with the exploding head basically feeling like something out of Alien. The BBC cut a few minutes of this episode when they aired it, notably removing the shot of the exploding head, and Canada put a viewer discretion warning at the top of this episode. This is the only episode of TNG that made Canada do that. That's something, isn't it? That said, watch it on repeat if you want. If you're in Canada, viewer discretion is advised. Captain Rix, present at the meeting Picard has at the top of the episode, is a Bolian, and this would mark the first ever appearance of that species in Trek. This episode would be the last time that these particular admiral uniforms would be used on TNG. They would change again for Season 2, seen in The Emissary and Measure of a Man, and then change again for Season 3, seen in The Defector and more episodes after that. In terms of TNG, they would change even one more time in Season 6, beginning in Realm of Fear. That's the long jacket things. After that, the First Contact style uniforms took over in the films and all the other shows, and some of the admirals got belts. That's nice. The parasites and the events of this episode would be referenced only once more on TNG, very briefly, in the episode The Drumhead. It is established that Admiral Nora Sati greatly assisted in uncovering the mess and also cleaning it up. Aside from that, however, the parasites from Conspiracy are never seen or heard from ever again.
Oh, do eat up, Picard. Raise your hand if you want seconds.
The tease at the end of this episode with the beacon was not in the original script. It was added later when the episode was deemed anticlimactic. Still, the ominous homing beacon amounts to nothing. There was some thought given to connecting this signal to Season 2's first contact with the Borg, but that got dropped by the time the episode Q Who was being written. Were the parasites a part of some larger collective, and did they have bigger plans? Where do they come from? Where do they go? We may never know, Cotton-eyed Parasite Joe.
Earl Grey never fails.
Earl Grey? No. And Conspiracy has some good quotes in it. When following up on Keel's troubling discoveries, Jean-Luc has a great line.
Friendship must dare to risk, Counselor, or it's not friendship.
Ooh, that's a good one, Jean-Luc. The line I always tend to remember, though, for all the wrong reasons, comes from Rear Admiral Quinn.
It won't like your science officer. It does like you.
Vitamins.
They do wonders for the body.
So does Earl Grey. Earl Grey, so much better than a bowl full of worms.
Riker, thank God. We're leaving.
You're not going anywhere.
Will the events of this episode have anything to do with the future of Trek? It's possible. They left things wide open with the parasites, and sure, it's been a while, but they could come back. It would be a deep cut, to be sure, but weirder things have happened. This is another instance where Lower Decks may decide to have a little fun with this dangling plot thread, and maybe not just as an Easter egg in the background. The crew of the Cerritos could definitely encounter the parasites back in action and ready to mingle. Check the next. Speaking of mingling, Crush your watch! Woo! Without her, Picard and the gang would have been screwed. Not only that, but Walker Keel seems to have some kind of interest in her. In his meeting with Picard at the end, he says,
Tell Beverly I said hello.
Excuse me? Why would he tell her you said anything? Back off, Walker Keel. Back off. This isn't an all-time classic episode, is it? But in terms of TNG Season 1, it does stand out. Also, no matter what you think of the episode itself, the head explosion is something that stays with you. It's somewhat hilarious that the notion of a conspiracy within Starfleet was something that was once battled over. It's old hat these days. Another day, another conspiracy. Here's to you, parasites, wherever you are. You are not forgotten. Has anyone gone around and started checking necks in real life? I mean, maybe that's what's going on. Check those necks. Check them all. Every neck. The government could be compromised. Check the neck. Check the necks. Check.